listening to the Savvy Musician Show with Leah McHenry, and this is your secret weapon for success in the new music industry.
Welcome once again to the Savvy Musician Show. This is CJ Ortiz. I'm the branding and mindset coach here at the Savvy Musician Academy. I also get to host this awesome podcast, the Music Marketing Podcast, on the interwebs. Now, as I mentioned in the last episode, we're doing a series of interviews with students of our elite program to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how some new success stories are happening in the new music industry. I'm really excited about this one today because it's somebody whose story is really unique because she's already in an existing popular touring band and she is starting now her own project. And I'm going to tell you a whole lot more about that with her as I welcome Lindsay Schoolcraft to the podcast. Thank you, Lindsay, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Isn't this awesome? I was talking to Lindsay just offline before we started the recording, and the electricity entered the room immediately with her because, Lindsay, this is such a crucial time, not just in your own personal musical journey, but in the music industry itself. And I shared something, Lindsay, in the last episode of the podcast talking about a recent article that it was in Guitar World magazine that talked to Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, who said if he was to give 60 seconds of advice to an up-and-coming musician, he would say, don't worry about the playing down the street. Focus 100% of your efforts on the internet. And of course, at Savvy Musician Academy, that's something we've been trying to put out there for a long time. You've been a student in the elite program for some time now. Now, give her a little bit of background. What band is it that you play in? And then let's get into what I just mentioned.
Okay, so for the past 7 years, I have been the keyboardist and the backing vocalist for Cradle of Filth, which was it's still very established, but very well established in the 90s type band. Heavy metal, extreme gothic heavy metal.
Yeah, and again, keyboards for Cradle of Filth. For anybody like me who's a metalhead, you know very well who Cradle of Filth is, and that's huge. And now you are about to venture off into your own music project. Well, it's already underway. You've got this debut solo album that we're going to talk about. But before we get to that, I want to go back to the discussion we were having offline because it was so good that we had to just say, let's save this for the podcast itself. I mentioned what Billy said. You've been pursuing the online space. You're doing your solo project this way, but you've also got an insider's look at what's happening right now with record labels and bands. Tell us about that.
Okay, so being in the metal industry, there's about 4 major labels that kind of run the monopoly on the market. The problem is they're changing right now and they're not changing fast enough. So the biggest issue is a lot of the old schoolers are ready to retire. They're tired. They want to retire. The new people are coming into the labels and they don't know where they belong. And they're like, hey, we need to update and do all this digital marketing stuff. And it's not being met fast enough. So right now, I see my friends feeling the pressure of not making enough money, bands breaking up, people wanting to quit. And it's really upsetting me. I've been reaching out to people and I said, your career isn't over. Check out this podcast. Check out Savvy because I've done it. I've seen it. I know you're sick of touring and it can be done. Just give it a chance, because there's so many talented people out there who are great singers and songwriters and they're just ready to quit. And I'm like, well, that's not fair. For me, I'm being selfish, but like for your fans, and I know that they don't want to quit music, but everyone's just feeling the massive crunch of the labels not transforming fast enough right now, especially in heavy metal. And the fans are concerned and confused too. They're like, how can I help? It's unbelievable what's happening right now.
Yeah, I remember Leah telling me one time about a year or so ago how she was approached by one of the major labels. And they were interested in her success, wanted to do an album with her. And all she did was go to their website and see that they weren't using a Facebook pixel on their website. And she said, there ain't no way I'm giving you any of my music because if you don't understand the importance, for example, of something so minor as a Facebook pixel, that tells us loads. That means you don't understand anything about digital marketing right now, which is how she achieved her success, which is the approach you're now taking in your life. And It's so interesting because you're highlighting this current phase of the history of the music industry since Napster. Napster came in, that did its work. Then you had iTunes come in, and then that had its effect. Then you had streaming, Pandora, Spotify, and the like. Then that had its effect. YouTube having its effect, copyright issues, all of that. And as you said, during this whole time, all these guys and gals who started these metal record labels, for example, well, they're into their retirement years. They're ready to, they had their
enough
of
years.
This.
Yeah, the 80s were fantastic, and now it's over.
Yeah. So now you got the new breed coming in, and they're kind of caught between because they learned the old way of doing things, and now the pressure is on because the results aren't coming. And so now bands are touring to try and make a difference and try to sell merch, but now the labels are taking huge percentages of that too.
Exactly.
And like you said, they're not making more than the bus driver.
Yeah, you go on tour and you find out how much your crew and your bus driver makes, and some people just come home breaking even, and that's not right, especially after all that fan money. Like, the fans thought they were putting the money towards the artist, only to find out it went into the whole hiring of the staff to get the artist out on tour. It's wrong. It feels so wrong, and I feel that from time to time as well. I understand entirely.
Yeah. And so when, in fact, I mentioned to you offline, in getting someone like yourself to talk about this here on the podcast, and talk about your own story and what you're doing with your own music marketing. It's not just for you, and it's not just because this is a great selling point for the Savvy Musician Academy. I can hear in you this sense of justice. That it is unjust for musicians who can, not just in this modern era, but since the outset, Motown artists and even Metallica just recently got their publishing rights back.
Oh my gosh,
There's
that's brutal.
Always been an injustice to the music industry, and you seem to be you're feeling that for a lot of your fellow artists.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we know we have to be online, but once we're online, like, a lot of us just don't know what to do, and they're like, I don't want to show my personal life to these people online, and everyone's just like confused. It's like herding cats right now. Like, nobody knows what they want or what to do, and I'm like, guys, hello over here.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit, going back now, of course, let me just update people on where you are right now. Your debut solo album, Martyr, just recently came out, right?
Yes.
Ethereal Gothic metal. And who did you write this record with? Somebody that everybody in the industry, so to speak, should know.
Yes, I got really lucky. Rocky Gray, who is like Grammy Award winning, the original drummer of Evanescence, he approached me back in the beginning of 2016, and he's like, hey, do you want to work on music together? And I nearly fell out of my computer chair. I was just like, this is ridiculous. But I was open to collaboration because, to be fair, I can do pretty much anything minus the band structure. He knows guitars, bass, drums. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. I went from a cover to a few songs to a full-blown album in a year. And I did get really lucky, and I'm very grateful for that. And he's on board for the second album. He's just so wonderful to work with. And it's weird working with one of your idols who you totally idolized in high school. It's strange stuff.
Yeah. Rocky's done so much other bands as well. He's like you said, a versatile all-around musician and arranger and songwriter and all of the above. And I was thrilled to hear when you first told me. You and I had a one-on-one coaching call at one point. And you told me, one of the first things you told me, it just blew me away that, you and Rocky were working together, because I'm looking at you, and of course you do you get that Evanescence vibe, so to speak, kind of the Gothic, element, obviously much, much, much different. But I just thought, wow, what a great, because, Evanescence is kind of doing their thing,
they've moved on. Yeah, they're more in a pop element now, which is cool. People still dig it. I love that. That's great.
Yeah. So, Lindsay, here you are now. Got this. Now you're also a comic book character, aren't you?
Yeah, I still have to pinch myself about that. That was J.P. Ahonen. He has this comic book series called Beelzebubs, and it's like the struggles. Like, anyone in Savvy would love it. It's the struggles of being in a band, but having a family and trying to get things off the ground and recording the album. And it's really cute. And I think everyone can relate to, if not the teen romance between the daughter and the drummer in the band, just the struggles of being in a band. And my character kind of came in, and she does exactly what I do. She's guest vocaling, and she's just being part of the band. And it's really, really cool. Like I've made a few appearances in the comic book. I'm in the music, like the animated music video, which actually just won an award over in Scandinavia, which I think is just so fantastic. So that was just a huge opportunity I jumped on. I was totally honored to be a part of it. I think that just comes with building a relationship with the comic book character, because I am technically in a black metal band and it's about a black metal band. So it really makes fun of it too. And I love it.
Well, that's a great segue. You are in a very, very, one of the most popular black metal bands in the world, Cradle of Filth. There's not a festival that goes on that you don't see Cradle of Filth listed. And of course, obviously your own tours. And you just got off a tour, and so you've got a very, very busy life, but you're launching this solo project, which you've done this month, the Martyr album released, and you've got more coming. And so you've been now with Savvy Musician Academy for some time. So let's go back there. When did Leah first appear on your radar?
Leah has been in my life for almost a decade. When she released her first album of Earth and Angels, I was actually writing. That was my into the industry. I used to review music and interview people, and that's like how I built my network. It's a great way to get in, and the press world does need people that care. I think that's important, and it was all consuming, and I wasn't getting paid for it, so eventually I moved out of it. But during that time, I met Leah and someone at the zine I was working with. Like, he's like, "You would love this. You have to listen to this. Listen to this album." And I'm like, "Okay," and I did, and I was like, who is this person? They're incredible. Like, I loved her first album. I really did. I still do. I have like the old copy of it before she revamped it. And we stayed in touch. We have a lot in common, you know, even though she's folk and I'm goth, it's very fantasy based in both worlds. I play the harp, she plays the harp. So we never run out of things to talk about, especially in the business industry. So, you know, what happened was, my story is crazy. I'm a very like Joan Jett's story, where she just kept getting rejected and she's like, I'm going to be persistent. Now Joan Jett's like a rock icon. You know, I was banging on the doors of labels for 4 months, and the labels are going through their awful growing pains right now, and no one was getting back to me. And I was working this like counter job at a drugstore in the makeup department. And if you can't tell by my face, I do makeup too. I was like, why am I so unhappy with my life? And it was that aha moment when I'm like, I don't have a release date for my album. That's why I'm so miserable. Granted, it was in January and it's -20 outside. So it's a reason to be miserable in Canada at that time of year. And I just went and I went home that night. I stayed up till 3 a.m. I did a brain dump into a Word document about like how I wanted this release to look. I'm doing it all online. I'm going to do it digital. Like, screw the record labels. They can't tell me what to do. You're not my real dad. Like, I was just like, I got really defiant in that case. And then I'm like, you know what? Leah's really good at this stuff. Maybe I should just like shoot her an email and a text and be like, hey, do you have 10 minutes to talk on the phone? So, you know, I got a hold of her and I was like, hey, do you got 10 minutes? Can I send you my release plan? And she's like, yeah, send it over. And then she texts me back. She's like, no, I'm calling you tomorrow night. We don't have 10 minutes. We need an hour.
Oh my gosh, that's Leah. That is so Leah.
Yeah, she was great. She was awesome. So supportive. Got me into the elite program. It has been life-changing. It's been like a realization of who I really am and what I'm really doing.
Wow. Now, okay, so you guys go way back, and so obviously you're able to kind of keep track of what she's doing. She's keeping track of what you're doing. When did the coin drop then for you as far as doing it this way, doing the Savvy Musician marketing approach to your own career? It's
been a huge push because I'm in the industry, especially with heavy metal. So I see what's happening. And I was like, you know what? Like, I do my best work when I'm home. I can play my harp. I can write music. I have a little recording station. It's dirty and cheap and like it just does the job until there's real production. I love doing social media, but when I'm on tour, I'm haggard and tired all the time. And I don't feel good about dropping videos like with not enough energy onto my Insta story talking about something. I could come off as cranky. I'm very sarcastic. So I do my best work from home. And I'm honestly like, touring is getting more and more unrealistic and expensive. And it's really taking a toll on my health physically and mentally. Like, tour schedules now, you know, I'm really in with a lot of the metal bands that are consistently on tour. And I am kind of in that same spot. And like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, I don't know either. And I just, even this year, I was so determined. I was doing the homework from the course on tour while I was just burned out. And I was like, no, this has to happen. Like, I refuse to allow some other thing that thinks it's greater than me to take control of my music career. It was hard. It was really hard. Like, on days off, I'd spend 10 hours in front of my computer doing my homework at a hotel lobby. And the guys in the band were like, what is she doing? Like, go get a drink. Like, I don't drink, but go out, go watch a movie, go relax in your bunk. And I'm like, no, I am determined to do this. Screw record labels. Like, I was so angry. But that's the thing. Like, I'm just seeing the way the industry's going, and it's just getting a little bit unrealistic, and the old school ways are really starting to crumble. And I was like, no, you know what? I want to stay home. I want to do this from home. I would love to tour. Don't get me wrong. I would love to go, but I want to do it on my own time, when my health allows, when funds allow, when the demand is there. I love doing live shows. Like, I just got offered earlier this year to go to Australia for a week with just my electric harp. And that was so much fun. Like, I would love doing that, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, I want to bring my band, but that's expensive. And that takes time to build the money and the clout for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Now, okay, so you're still doing the program. You're still taking advantage of everything that's there. I mean, what difference has this made for you, especially with this recent album launch? It
was so self-realizing. Like, I'm an artist and I just want to put out art and hope people enjoy it. But when it came to finding out what your micro niche was, and then asking your fans about you, my fans told me, they're like, you're pretty much the gothic queen of darkness. Your genre is gothic rock under symphonic metal, female fronted, and all that fun stuff. If you understand the course, is a tier system to find your micro niche. So my micro niche is ethereal gothic rock. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. That sounds wicked. It's I was just going to go out and get really dumb merch made, like mugs, scarves, notebooks, candles. My fans didn't want any of that. I'm like, I want that. When I go to the dollar store, I stock up. But they were like, no, we want t-shirts, hoodies, CDs, vinyl, patches, stickers, posters. I'm like, done. This is what you want. Right. Cool beans. I will give it to you. The other thing though is, and I was talking to Leah about it when I went through the whole aspect of Facebook. So when I did my fan survey, I'm like, on this pie chart, nobody uses Facebook anymore. Facebook is going to be obsolete. It's going to be 25%. I did the survey and it came back, and my fans, 55% of them prefer to use Facebook. I was again, fell out of my computer chair. And I was like, okay, wow. And then when I learned all about the Facebook business manager and pixels and running ads and targeted ads and your hashtags, I was just I don't think any of the record labels I hang out with after shows and, schmooze and mingle with know anything about this. And this is what is so vital for your career. Why waste money advertising if you don't even know what the heck you're advertising, first of all? But then and I am a believer that, listen, make your art, but nobody is original anymore. You sound like an amalgamation of 3 other artists. Get over it. We're not original anymore, especially being a goth. We are not original.
Right.
And then just finding out what bands you sound like, and your fans are out there. They want your music. Ever since I started running ads, I'm not a big fan of Zuckerberg. I'm not, and I'm mean to him behind the scenes, but I looked into advertising and what the labels charge and what advertising looks like. It's so expensive. Zuckerberg's giving us musicians a huge discount. If we know what we're doing, it's ridiculous. When I told a friend of mine in Australia who's also into digital marketing, I'm like, I spent $90 a month on ads, and that's it. And I've every month I get about 6,000 followers and I get this many click-throughs. And she's like, $90 a month? She's like, that's just a grocery bill. I'm like, I know. And I'm vegan. I live off of twigs and berries. I have an expensive grocery bill. This is fine. So yeah, the course really just, oh man, it's been a journey. I feel like a whole new person, and I'm confident, and confidence is practice, but it's also nurtured. Your confidence needs to be nurtured, that you're not crazy and you are thinking the right way. You're doing the right thing.
Yeah, like I said, I interviewed another one of the students in the last episode, and one of the things that she talked about was this support element, and with the coaches and things like that. And obviously, you know Leah personally, so the secret to success in anything is you need principles, which are taught in any sort of course.
Right.
But then you need coaching. You know, you need someone to tell you whether you're doing it right, something that you're missing. Otherwise, you get trapped in your own head. You start this vicious cycle of self-defeat. You've got enough challenges as it is. So when it comes to building your own music empire, you want to minimize the mental and emotional challenges as much as you can. And so that's kind of reinforced in the course itself. Now, for you, you're obviously very excited about what's happening. You just came out with the new album. How empowered now do you feel about, moving forward into the next year?
It was like, I will say first off, like, especially with the heavy touring schedule, it was very tough and it was a lot of sacrifice. And I dubbed this the year of no fun because I didn't do any sightseeing. I just stayed in my laptop. But I always knew, I'm like, I trust Leah. I trust Savvy. I know the outcome of this is going to be really good. Like, I am the definition of grit. I really am. I stuck it out. And there were times where it was very hard. And going back to coaching in this industry, there's not a lot of leaders or coaches. It's just a lot of people doing the thing and going home. And that's not wrong, especially when it comes to musicians, crew, and people who run the business side of the industry. There's very few good people in this industry who I do keep in consistent communication with. But, that first week of the launch was a bit messy, but it went over really well overall. And then when the first week I recouped, record labels have to recoup their expenses. And, I don't mind talking numbers, but I spent about $25,000 of my own money that I saved and invested into this program and into my product and into my team. And the first week I saw all that money back, just the first week. And it was like, okay, I just recouped. Cool beans. Let's run some ads and do some funnels and see what we can do. You know what I mean? That's the next chapter.
If you can do that much, then if you can move it an inch, as they say, right, we can certainly move it a mile. And, it's been interesting myself serving just as a coach and, of course, hosting this podcast and all of that. It's awesome to meet all of the incredible students. But the reason why I'm here is because I've been doing this sort of thing myself. Now, I've got 30 years in advertising and marketing myself, but then I also did the motivational speaking professional development thing, and that's the metal motivation, so heavy metal motivator. So that's how Leah and I worked together for a number of years, like yourself, about a decade. And so I watched her go from, struggling, her and her husband struggling to make ends meet, facing bankruptcy, being advised to, declare bankruptcy, to where she is now. And I could verify the process. I could watch this. I could see the success almost predicted in a way because I knew she was following the established principles of marketing. In other words, what you're being armed with, Lindsay, is not something she made up. You know what I mean? This is something that and I can tell you from, again, 30 years of doing this, she's using the standard principles of direct marketing that were used in the 60s, used in the 70s, used in the 80s and the 90s, all apply to this new space. So tell me then about things you're learning about, for example, copywriting and how you handle your social media and all that sort of stuff.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I've always been very organic with my audience and growing it, especially in all the time I've been touring the world the past 7 years and up on the hashtags, wishing people a happy birthday. Like, I appreciate and love my fans and I nurture that. And they come to me and I'm like, fairy goth mother, come under my bat wing, tell me about your problems. Like, I love my fans so much. I really do. I have a lot of really good connections and personal relationships with my fans. But Savvy helped me bring it to the next level. Like, I didn't realize I could write emails like I was sending a personal text message. And I want to keep that connection with my fan base. So funny story, I was like, okay, I'm stuck in Australia before a wedding after a tour. I'm going to New Zealand. I'm having a vacation. That was a nah. That was like a business retreat. And I literally finished a lot of the bonus course material with Savvy because I was just so like fired up. And I'm like, I need to do the thing. Like, I was just like little warrior mode. And it might have been New Zealand. I don't know. The Maori culture there. I have no idea. But so I went ahead and I was like, no, this is just mind blowing. And, my fans get it and they're very supportive. I understand a lot of people don't want like emails all the time. But like, that's fine. Like, my mailing list is growing and I'm having this wicked connection with my fans and they reply and I reply. And It's just nice. And I love email because, here's the thing. And I think musicians need to understand this right now. And I didn't know this until I opened my Drip. Drip is the e-commerce mailing platform, which I don't mind paying for after I opened and saw these numbers. And I was never a numbers person. I hate math. I am dyslexic. You can tell I'm stumbling over my words a lot in this podcast. And I was like, okay, I'll do this. And, I imported all my old emails and I started getting things working. And then about a week after when I recouped, I opened Drip. And it's 80% of your sales came from Drip. And I'm like, wow. Okay, well, screw social media unless you're paying for a targeted ad. I'm not doing this anymore. So yeah, and the thing is going back to Leah, and we have to praise our queen. I was a fan of hers for the longest time. I get it. I love fantasy folk metal. I love folk metal. In my mind, I am a dark queen elf saving the kingdom. I get it. So as her fan, I understand that micronation, that culture. I get it. I used to play World of Warcraft as an elf. I get it. So when I was no, she's not wrong because I'm a fan and I see how she gets my fandom going. So, I won't lie. I've dropped $100 on her here and there. I love her music and everything. But then I see the business side of her and I'm like, I need to be doing that for myself because I know that how I'm a fan to her music, those people are out there and they need me to be their gothic queen, providing the spooky vibes and the spooky jams. So,
right.
I knew that. I just know because I think that is something a lot of musicians don't do. Some of them do, some of them don't, or some of them know it and they just don't tap into it. Remember when you were a music fan, what did you want? You know what I mean? And then putting yourself in those shoes and doing it for yourself. But that's the thing that comes with that confidence. A lot of us are just such humble, sensitive creatives. We don't step into those shoes enough, I think.
Yeah, and this is so important. And, you mentioned earlier some of your fellow musicians who were like, I don't want to share my life like that on social media, et cetera. You just want to be the artist hidden away. Trust the labels to do everything for you. Well, the times are changing and maybe things will develop on the label side of things. Maybe they'll come up to speed. New labels will come about who are more devoted to the artists themselves and share a bigger piece of the pie. But until then, what's going to make you doubly attractive as an artist is if you have a sizable following. A label is always going to be more interested in you if you have the following. A publishing label is going to be interested in you as an author if you've got a sizable following. It is in your interest to do the very basics of audience building. And like you said, you see the purpose of a social media. You see the purpose of an email. You say, wow, I'm getting 80% of my sales via email. In Leah's recent crowdfunding campaign, 30 days, her goal was $50,000. For 30 days, she raised $83,000. And in 1 week, 7 days through Drip, the program you're using, 7 days email campaign, $27,299 for her album. So it's okay, well, what's possible? Everything is possible because, again, she does not tour. You're on stages. You mentioned a cool story that we actually shared in one of the previous podcasts where you were on a flight. What was it? You were on a flight and you were recognized. Tell us that story.
Okay, so this is just weird because I've always been known as kind of the keyboardist to Cradle of Filth, right? And we were in Australia and I started running targeted ads just with what music I had on Bandcamp at the time. My Shopify wasn't up yet. And I was just running them. And I do have this crazy underground little following in Australia. So we're on tour and I'm haggard. It was we were up at 5 a.m. I'm just hiding in my sunglasses and my hoodie and my jacket. And, I just kind of stumble onto the plane and I'm like, I'm going to go find my sleep and nap. I was just I'm too tired. I can't do this. And, usually people recognize our lead singer. He's a goth icon. He was huge in the 90s. He's a great poet and front person. So I'm sitting there and then this girl comes up to me and she's blushing and she's giggling. She's a flight attendant. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, hey, I tried to find you vegan food, but we don't have anything. And it was less than 3 hours. So they don't feed you, right? On a flight. If it's over 3 hours, they have to provide a meal. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I just want to say I don't care about Cradle of Filth, but I'm a really big fan of yours. Wow. It's so nice to meet you. It's such an honor to serve you on this flight. And I'm like, excuse me? She's like, yeah. She's like, I saw your ad on Facebook and I started following her. Your music's amazing. And I'm just I'm sitting there, and my guitarist is sitting across the aisle from me, and he's like, "What's going on? Are you okay?" I'm like, "She likes me."
Wow.
And my guitarist always jokes, "Oh, I should have been a singer."
Right.
Rich is a good guy. Great sense of humor about being the guitarist, which, everybody has their place in the band. But it was just, I wrote about it in the Elite group, which is just a fantastic little support system. And I wouldn't say little, we're a big network of support.
Right.
And everyone there's going through the same growing pains and, realizations and whatnot. And it was just really weird for me. Like, I was like, did that just happen? But that's the thing. It's like these things work, and your super fans are out there. Like, they want your music. They want to support you. It's crazy. That's
such a key thing. And, the superfan element it's not just jargon. This is literally what we're looking for, because superfans will not get tired of your emails. Superfans will be happy to hear about your little idiosyncrasies and the tough morning that you had and the little moments you might want to share. And once you receive that, once you get that feedback from superfans and not the cynical people we see online all the time. Once you especially in the metal community, right?
Oh God, yeah.
So once you start getting this positive feedback from people that love you dearly and want to hear from you, it's going to open you up to share that sort of thing even more. And, again, alluding to the fact that you have been a touring musician, you do have notoriety. You are working with somebody like Rocky that, together with these elements, and you now taking over your own music marketing, your own music business with the things you're taught in the Savvy Musician Academy Elite program. Man, I mean, this is a recipe for great things, Lindsay. Do you even understand this? I'm kidding.
I know, I do. And the thing is like Rocky he saw the last end of like the greatness that was the music industry. And he's so excited for me. Like, he always pops in. He's like, "How's it going? What's going on?" Now, I understand, like, Rocky has done his thing. He's retired. He's made his money. Everything's paid for. He just for fun now does like film scores and music video games because he wants to, but when I show him what I'm doing, at first he was like, "Wait, you're like becoming your own record label? Like, what the heck, Lindsay? Like, how does that work?" And now he's just like, he's always cheering me on. He's so excited for it. He knows this is the future. He knows. He's very well aware of it.
It is the future. And, it's something we say a lot, obviously, on this show. And it's great to see someone like yourself at this really critical point. And like I said, she and I were chatting offline just before the podcast. We had to cut ourselves off because it would have turned into a podcast itself. And then we would have regretted never recording any of it. And then she would have had to kind of repeat, and it just loses that kind of energy. But when she was talking about it, I felt the electricity immediately enter the room. And I just said, you know what? The metal gods want this discussion to be had. Because it's just, and I know, I'm a metal lover, metal motivator stuff. You're a metal artist. This is for everybody. This is every industry. You're in country, jazz, ambient music, write music for kids. There's no age to this. There's no genre limitations to this. Anybody, if there's a fan, we got somebody we've been looking at just in our own elite group who has a space alien country.
I love it.
Space
Those
alien
fans are
country.
out there.
Yeah, people who love country music, but also are all into the sci-fi thing. And there's genres and micro niches out there for you, and you can build your own empire. And Lindsay, I know there's so much more that you could say. I wish we had a lot more time to do that, and we'll bring you back on maybe when Leah's here where we could talk more about that. But commerce, the e-commerce element was obviously a big eye-opener for you, right? Not just selling the music, but this other element. How are you doing with your store?
Oh, it's just fantastic. I love Shopify. Best customer service. Like, I had a little bit of an issue with PayPal. It's a long story. I won't get into it. But when you're like used to the customer service being so incredible through Shopify, what an incredible platform to sell your music, connect with your fans, provide tracking, buy your shipping labels off the website, do it all from home really easily. And then you go to PayPal, who like nobody knows their butt from their toes. It was it was really stressful. But But, no, Shopify made it so easy. Like, okay, I am living in a little bit of a box fort right now in my apartment, but I don't care because, like, when people come to visit, they're like, wow, that is so cool. Like, go you. You're doing it all yourself from home. And I'm like, yeah, thanks to Shopify. Shopify is my friend. And I'm on the basic plan, like an annual basic plan, doing it all through the course, like for $30 a month. Like, that's what I just don't go out and buy coffee for a month. That's nothing. That's a sacrifice I can make for now. I don't care.
Yeah, for now, exactly, for now. And I think what people, and I think this is, and I have to apologize that I don't offer more explanation. Me and Leah, when we talk, we say, we got to be careful about how much we assume people know about what we're talking about when we talk about marketing things. So when we say Shopify, in other words, that Lindsay is doing great with her Shopify store, e-commerce, which means selling all of her hoodies and shirts and mugs and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing, guys. She doesn't carry any inventory. She's not sitting there with printed stuff that she has to put in bags and ship out to anybody. You're not shipping anything, are you?
Oh, no, I am. I did it. Okay, so listen, I'm a little bit punk rock. I came from a punk band first, like when I was 15. So yes, you can do the whole print on demand. And I looked into it and I was like, I'm such a control freak. And I understand like a lot of people have been very happy with their print on demand, but I did small quantities. I say box fort. There's just a little pile over there. There's a little pile over there. There's a little pile in the other room. It doesn't bother my roommates. I live with a drummer. I live with students and artists. It's a very Amanda Palmer situation. Right. If you don't know Amanda Palmer, check her out. She's amazing. But I did do small quantity prints because I wanted to support. I'm so like sentimental like this way. I wanted to support some local printers that I thought were really good, some small local businesses, because at the end of the day, my fans are coming to support me. But a lot of people do the print on demand, and I think that is fantastic. But I have had a lot of fun just taking down like the first big shipment, taking some downtime, inviting over my sister and my closest friends, doing an assembly line, boxing things up, putting little love notes, and like the fans I've had a really good relationship with, putting it in the boxes. I did do things a little differently. I know I didn't have to do it this way, but I did it this way because I'm punk rock and I wanted to send love letters. And, and the print on demand does make more sense for your sanity, and I will look into it in the future. But I just did it a little bit differently because I'm a little bit of an oddball. I am very unique.
No, I completely understand, because that's the way I did it for the longest time. And because I did want that, and I wanted to make sure things got there. I wanted to make sure an order wasn't messed up. But the most important part was I could throw a sticker in there. I could throw a patch in there. I could write a little note on the invoice and all of that. But then what happens is the volume kicks up. Yes, and then you realize, I can't have mugs, hats, little pieces of trinkets, all the different iPhone covers and all of these things. So at some point you do have to turn some of that over to the print on demand, because with print on demand, you can say, okay, well, if you all of a sudden you start getting people saying, I want an iPhone cover. I want an iPhone cover. Well, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Whereas
exactly, like I'm going to order 10 and they'll collect dust.
Yeah, and there's got to get one for iPhone 7S, iPhone 8, iPhone 10X, iPhone 11. But where you have these print on demand, you could have it up and available. I've had people request something from me and had it up available on my store in less than 5 minutes. Right. I had somebody say, somebody said, well, I would get a shirt from you. Of course, we have this in the metal community, the extra large folks, bless their hearts. One guy said, hey, man, 3X, I need something 4X, 5X. I can't do 3. I'm thinking, bigger than 3X? And he said, if you had that, I would order it.
Right.
And so I said, okay. 5 minutes, I had a whole 3X, 4X, 5X shirts and all my shirts available, and sent him a link. He was like, that was fast.
I need that right now, because my fans that are like triple XL, they're just like, where's the things? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I will print the things next time. That's money I'm losing. And, you live, you learn. Like I did do this launch a little old school in areas, which I shouldn't have. But in the future, like my dream with building, my fan base and my mailing list and my career, essentially, I've talked about it with Leah. I will look into like warehouse, like shipping, like fulfillment facilities. Not a lot around here in Toronto, but I'm very persistent. I will find someone and I will do that. And then I can just clear out my house, make it look social media pretty, write all my music from here, have my little motivational speeches every morning. And that I can't wait for that, but it is a transition. And the other thing is like, I did do a little rant when I was opening my bank account. I was on the way to open my bank account. And I said, I think the millennial lie is the whole, it happens overnight. Like, I have been a work in progress for 18 years. I've seen the industry change multiple times in multiple ways, but this just didn't happen overnight. I started Savvy in February and I had to tour and I had a lot of research to do, and I'm still not done. I'm still getting distribution offers. I got to figure out distribution. I've had a publishing offer. I need to go study publishing a little more. I don't know enough about publishing. I'm not going to jump in and sign something. You know, there's all these things that are being offered on the table for me. And it's like, okay, like I need to be smart and do my research. And when I'm caught up, I'm caught up. But with Savvy, it's just such a good little breakdown of where you need to start, because it will grow bigger than you. And, you know, now I got my sister we're only 3 years apart. She's a graphic designer, photographer. She gets it. She made my Shopify look beautiful. Having my family member, who's my best friend, work for me has just been like the fact that, hey, your sister's out of work and you can employ her is one of the most beautiful feelings in the entire world, you know. And then I do have a fantastic team around me. A lot of them women, you know, we're really good multitaskers. No offense to dudes. I get it. I admire the man's like pinpoint focus to get that job done and get it done right. But like we women, we're just like an octopus with our tentacles everywhere doing multiple things at once. But that growth is just so beautiful. And I'm starting to see just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm so happy, like, you know, and I can't wait to get back to writing music. Like I spoke to Steve at Savvy. He's great. I think a lot of people have phone calls with him and stuff. And I was like, Steve, I'm so miserable. Like, I'm not writing music. And he's like, you're going through a season. You're in building season. You're in business season. You will get back to being creative. He's like, I know. My wife, when she's not writing, she gets grumpy. I know. You know, I get it. And I was there. And I was like, okay. So I have a lot of stuff to clean up. And then I'm going to like get back into working on a very special little EP, hopefully done before Christmas. But I can do that now because like I don't have to go on tour for this album as much as I know the fans want it. And maybe one day they will get it. I don't have to go on tour. I can just go back right into writing and performing music from home. Like living the dream. I'm sorry. That's living the dream now.
That is the dream. That is the dream. That's what we want for every musician that's listening. And again, doesn't matter what genre you're in. And, you know, Lindsay has a clear picture now. And this, you know, how you do that sort of thing as an independent artist today is part of what the Savvy Musician Academy is. Well, it is what the Savvy Musician Academy is about. It gives you that clear path. And these are proven principles. Like I said, this is not something Leah just pulled out of her ear. This is stuff that's been established for years. And I wouldn't be a part of the Savvy Musician. I would not take the time to do this podcast. I've got my own stuff to do. I would not waste my time if it wasn't something that I sincerely believed in, one, being principle-based, but number two, because I have such a heart for music, not because I'm a musician myself, but because I love music, especially, you know, the heavy metal genre, and I want to see it continue, and I know what the problems are. And I have a lot of very, very good friends that are professional musicians especially in the heavy metal genre. And I know the pain. I know what, and so to me, there's such a cause here. This is so purpose-driven when it comes to, you know, helping people.
One thing I do want to point out, especially with heavy metal and rock and alternative. Okay, so like I wasn't bitter, but I'm doing this all myself, right? I have a hired out session players. My guitarist is in Toronto. My bassist is in Vancouver. And I live with my drummer, but he's doing his own thing. He's a drum teacher. He's very busy. He lets me keep all my inventory here. Bless him. But if you're in a metal band, you have 4 to 6 other people who can help you with all of this. Like if you go through Savvy, you have 6 other people. I am one person. Everybody in your band has a strength. Like if you're a duet or you're a 3-piece or a 4-piece, someone in there is good at social media. Someone in there is good at marketing. Someone in there is good at numbers and keeping a mailing list. Delegate the task. Because like, I was just like, man, like what I would give to have like 5 other band members right now doing this with me. And it's not that my hired session people can't, but they're still in their other jobs. They're still teachers. They're still doing their respective thing. I can't like, you know, plug them into Savvy and be like, okay, do the thing. And then like, they have multiple questions and it's slowing me down and I had a deadline. Maybe in the future they can. I know my guitarist is in marketing and he would love to do this. So I'll bring him in eventually. Right. But if you start with your band and you have like yourself, and then you have these 5 other people helping you, you will get through the course so quickly. It'll be like magic. It will.
Right. That's awesome. Thank you for saying that, because we get so focused on the individual artist, we forget there's oftentimes other players involved, and the burden doesn't have to all be on you. But hats off to you, horns off to you, Lindsay Schoolcraft, for I love it, with Fairy Gothmother. That was so cool. It's so wonderful to watch your brand develop, and to be so faithful to it. And I love hearing about your work ethic and the grit you talked about, because that is what it takes. We don't want this to be unrealistic, for people to think, oh, yeah, you just take this course and everything works. No, it takes work. It takes work. The difference is that you're going to be willing to do the work more because you're going to get the results. And you're going to get the results because you're going to have a proven program. And you're going to have coaches there with you, committed to you. Now, I'm speaking specifically of the elite program. We have other things like the online musician, what we call our TOM program, which is about to get an upgrade. The elite program is different. It's a higher ticket, higher cost program, but you get all the coaches. I work with students, and we have other teams, people specializing in email, people specializing in Facebook ads. And these are people who make their living. For example, Jody, who is our Facebook ads coach, that's what she does. She makes her living with teaching people, on Facebook ads. So all of that, and people forget about Steve, Leah's husband, Steve.
He's so great.
And, he's one of my best buddies, and oftentimes when we have our little team meetings, it's all other women, Melissa and all of these other, Chandra and all, Amy and all these other girls, and Leah, and then there's just me and Steve. So representing the testosterone end of things in the face of so much estrogen, holding our own and saying yes, ma'am, a whole lot of the time.
Oh, bless. Oh.
Yeah, Steve told me one time, no, I'm not kidding, but there's a joke I say all the time, when your wife tries to tell you what to do as a man, you say, no woman is going to tell me what to do. And so one time when they tell you, hey, get over here and wash these dishes, you just tell them, I'm not doing anything until I finish this ironing. So it is we work with some very, very brilliant ladies. And, of course, Leah is, as you said, the queen who really set the standard for all of this. But so thankful for you, Lindsay, for taking the time. And thank you for giving me a front row seat to watching what's going on. And hope we get a chance to keep in touch and whatnot. But either way, we'll be behind you 110%, singing your praises, spreading the word. And we know you're going to do well.
Thank you so much. It means a lot, seriously.
How can people, we're going to put stuff in the show notes, but what's the best place for people to go to learn more about what you're doing?
You can go to lindsayschoolcraft.com. I spell Lindsay with an I and an A. Okay. And Schoolcraft is with a C, not a K. And you can also go to schoolcraftshop.com if you want to see how beautiful my sister made my Shopify.
Right.
So yeah, and all my social media is linked there. You can come join me on Instagram. I'm quite punctual on Twitter, and I just post a lot of really silly jokes, which is fun. You got to make someone laugh, even if it's just yourself. But yeah, I'm pretty active on my social media. And, if Gothic rock or Gothic culture or, like, hey, happy Halloween, it's this week. That's your thing. That's my life. It's Halloween every day in my world. So come hang out.
Yeah. And even, guys, I tell people this all the time, especially for somebody who's listening to this podcast, or not just a music listener, they're aspiring musicians themselves. So it is great to watch what Lindsay's doing right now as a case study for yourself, because the people are learning the principles. They might as well watch somebody literally do it beyond. They all know Leah's success story. Okay, they've heard it before, but to watch someone else, following those similar proven principles that don't belong to SMA, they belong to the marketing communications world, like I said, for as long as I've known them. And so it's great to watch that. They can check that out too. So again, all that information will be in the show notes. But again, Lindsay, it was so great to see you.
You too. Thank you again.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on the Savvy Musician Show. If you would like, you can leave a review. We need them. We lust for them. We salivate for them. We share them in our meetings. The reviews are really, really important, because they help other musicians like yourself discover the Savvy Musician Show. Leave us as many stars as you can. Again, whatever player you use, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, please take the time to leave a review. You're also always welcome to come to one of our Facebook groups and leave your comments there. Some things that you would like to see us cover in the future. We'll be happy to address it. Once again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you soon.
This episode was sponsored by the Superfan System Elite program here at Savvy Musician Academy. If you are looking to scale your existing music business and you're looking to get into advanced digital marketing, such as email marketing, funnels, e-commerce, Facebook ads, and more, and you're looking to build a real profitable online music business, book a call with our team at www.callsma.com. We would love to speak with you for about 30 minutes and see how we can help you. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more episodes, and we'll see you next time.